Bartholomew blinked. Gone were the stone walls of his chamber, the musty scent of parchment. A cacophony of sound assaulted him, a symphony of unknown horrors. Towering structures of glass and steel scraped the sky, monstrous carriages of metal and fire roared past. The stench of something foul, something manufactured, filled the air. Bartholomew, master wizard, was lost. He had been attempting a simple summoning spell, or at least as simple as one could be when dealing with the fabric of reality. A mispronounced syllable, a flicker of misplaced concentration, and here he was. Where exactly here was, he couldn't say, but it was certainly not his world. People rushed past, faces glued to glowing rectangles. One bumped into him, muttered a hurried sorry without breaking stride. Their clothing was strange, their speech unfamiliar. A wave of nausea overcame him. He longed for the familiar weight of his spellbook, the comforting scent of his workshop. Bartholomew stumbled, overwhelmed by the sensory overload. He ducked into a narrow alleyway, seeking refuge from the chaos. He needed to think, to plan. He needed to find a way back to his own time. The alley provided little solace. It reeked of something he couldn't place, a sickly sweet stench that clung to the back of his throat. He recoiled from a strange pulsating box overflowing with refuse. What manner of sorcery was this? His stomach rumbled, a reminder that he hadn't eaten since the previous evening. He spied a cart piled high with strange, brightly colored fruits. Surely something here would be edible. But when he reached for his coin purse, he found only empty leather. Panic welled in his chest. He tried to engage the fruit vendor, a portly man with a bored expression, but his words were met with a blank stare. Frustration mounted. Did these people not speak the common tongue? He pointed at the fruit, miming eating, but the vendor just shook his head and turned away. Despondent, Bartholomew retreated further into the alley. He felt a growing despair. How could he possibly survive in this strange, hostile world? He longed for his familiar, for something, anything that resembled home. A rustling in the refuse drew his attention. A rat, fat and sleek, emerged from a discarded food container. It twitched its nose at him, beady eyes curious. An idea sparked in Bartholomew's mind. It was a long shot, a desperate act, but he was out of options. He muttered a quick incantation, the words rusty from disuse. The air shimmered around the rat, and then, to Bartholomew's astonishment, it sat back on its haunches, its tiny nose wrinkling. "Well, well," a squeaky voice piped up. "Look what we have here! Haven't seen your kind around these parts." Bartholomew stared. The rat, now perched on its hind legs, looked back at him expectantly. Its beady eyes sparkled with intelligence. "Did you just speak?" Bartholomew stammered, his voice a mixture of disbelief and hope. The rat chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. "Of course I spoke. You did ask me to, didn't you? Now who are you, and what brings you to this fine city?" Bartholomew, still somewhat dazed, introduced himself. He explained his predicament, the botched spell, the unfamiliar surroundings. The rat, whom Bartholomew decided to call Rufus, listened with a mixture of amusement and skepticism. "A wizard, eh?" Rufus finally chirped. "Never met one of your kind before. But this city, my friend, has seen it all. So what's the plan? You going to magic your way back home?" Bartholomew sighed. "I wish it were that simple. My magic, it's unpredictable here. I need to understand this place this time. Maybe then I can find a way to reverse the spell." Rufus, ever the pragmatist, scurried onto Bartholomew's shoulder. "Well then, consider me your guide. I know this concrete jungle like the back of my paw. First things first though, you need to ditch that getup. You look like you just stepped out of a history book." And so began their unlikely partnership. Rufus, with his streetwise knowledge and nose for trouble, led Bartholomew through the labyrinthine streets of New York. They scavenged for food, traded trinkets that Bartholomew conjured for information, and slowly, cautiously, Bartholomew began to adapt.